Good afternoon, and welcome to Mortgage Minutes with Leslie McGarry. I'm the Vice President of Equity Prime Mortgage, a local lender servicing our community, and a proud member of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. Today, my first guest is Ozzie Fumo. Welcome, Ozzie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Would you like to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you're running for?
Sure. I'm running for re-election for Assembly District 21. I ran and won last cycle. Assembly District 21 is the south part of the valley. It goes from Silverado Ranch to Warm Springs, Eastern Avenue down to about Pecos Avenue. Has about 65,000 residents in there. I teach at Boyd Law School. I teach trial advocacy, opening statements, and closing arguments, and I've been an attorney here in Las Vegas for the last 22 years. I've lived in Las Vegas since 1975.
Wow, you've got some serious roots here, don't you?
I do.
So I wanted to kind of touch on a few things about what your actual campaign is. And one of the things that I talked to you about before was that your father was you like to refer to him as a blue-collar worker with a white-collar job.
I did.
And you know, with all of the building going on in Las Vegas and all of our local union members, you know, how does that play into our housing market and what you feel this election could bring for those types of workers?
That was a great question. Yeah, my dad moved here in 1975. We worked for the Hilton Hotel, which is the largest hotel in the world at the time. And like I said, he was a blue-collar worker, or white-collar worker with a blue-collar job, and he worked on the docks with the Teamsters and taught me young about the importance of union membership in the valley here and what they did for Las Vegas, not just the Teamsters Union, but the Culinary Union and other unions here, the laborers and things like that. We're the strongest, I think, city in the world besides Chicago with labor in Las Vegas. One of the things that worries me about the next legislative session as it relates to housing is having affordable housing for people not only that have union jobs, those are great money jobs, but I'm worried for teachers. I'm worried for low-income people, minimum wage, things like that. It's going to be a tough session unless we do something to either raise minimum wage so that we can have affordable housing so that people can afford housing, or to get low-income housing like Section 8 housing or other types of housing for the people that aren't making minimum wage. It's not even a livable wage, what we have right now.
One of the things that obviously you're backed by the teachers union.
Yes.
I know that they've put their support behind you. How would it affect our ability to recruit teachers into Las Vegas and stabilize them here if we had more affordable housing for them, or a pay raise? I mean, how would that be able to set Las Vegas apart if it was a choice of where they could move to?
That's a great question. We already have seen the effects of not being able to pay our teachers a livable wage. You had companies like Amazon that were thinking about moving their headquarters to Las Vegas and chose to move somewhere else for two reasons. One, the education system in Nevada, and one, lack of transportation. What goes back to the education system is they didn't want to bring their executives and employees here knowing that Nevada was in the bottom of the education system in the country. And part of the problem is we can't pay our teachers enough, and we have a brain drain of teachers here all the time. They go through the education system, whether it's at UNLV or Nevada State College, University of Phoenix, and they leave to go to other states because they can get paid more and actually survive. Teachers here are the number 2 recipient of benefits, social benefits, because we don't pay them enough. They have to get welfare, they have to get food stamps. The number 1 person is Walmart employees, because they don't even work a full week. They aren't paid a livable wage. So we're actually paying for people like Sam Walton to have good employees, because it's you and I as taxpayers and the rest of Nevadans that pay for them to get these social benefits. Teachers in Clark County, unfortunately, are the number 2 recipient of social benefits because we can't pay them enough. So we have a brain drain here. We have a lack of teachers every single year. When the school year starts, you'll hear on the news and in the papers all the time about we're still underfunded by 1,000 teachers. We don't have enough teachers for the classrooms. And it's because they don't pay them enough, and they're going to move to cities where they do get paid a livable wage.
Thank you, Ozzie, for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mortgage Minutes with Leslie McGarry and my guest, Ozzie Fumo. So Ozzie, I wanted to kind of tap on some of the issues that you're running your platform on this election. Obviously, I know you personally, and I know some of your passions. But for our viewers, would you like to take one or two of your passions and talk to us about why that hits so close to home for you, being a Las Vegas native?
Yeah, two of the things I'm working on for the next legislative session are gun control, responsible ownership of gun owners. I had a constituent in my assembly district whose daughter was killed 4 years ago. She went home after school to another young person's house. They were 12 years old at the time. There was a loaded gun kept where the drinking water glasses were. This girl pulled off the gun, showed it to her friend. My constituent's daughter, her name was Brooklyn Moeller, ran out of the house and she shot her in the back and killed her. And so I have a BDR, bill draft, that I'd like to propose to have gun owners, if you own a gun, that's fine to have it, but keep it locked up, keep it away from children. And if it is around where a child gets access to it and someone is killed or someone is harmed, there's going to be consequences, whether it's taking the gun away, you lose your right to own a weapon, or I've gone over it with the district attorney, they would like prison time. I, for one, don't think there should be prison time involved just because there's already been one tragedy and no need to have another one. But the district attorney's office, to support the bill, wanted it to be a consequence severe enough where prison could be imposed. So we're still working on the details of that. But that's probably my biggest passion when I get up there for the next legislative session. The other one is bail. We need to do something about first-time offenders, nonviolent offenders here in Nevada. We spend millions of dollars every year warehousing first-time nonviolent offenders, and we don't need to. 95, I'd even say higher, 99% of the people who are arrested and bailed out show up to court. In 22 years of practicing, I've only had one person that fled, that failed to appear. And so we spend all this money warehousing people. We have to pay for their health care needs. We have to pay to feed them. We have to pay for the guards to protect them. And we don't have the money to do that anymore. We need to put the money where it's valuable, into education, into affordable housing. We have a facility called the North Valley Detention Center that was built several years ago that the Clark County Commission can't even fund for the employees. They're all paid overtime because we don't have the money to provide salaries for those people. I think if we do a little adjustment to the bail in Nevada, we can save Nevada millions of dollars and put that money into education and prevent this playground to prison pipeline that we have all the time. Because if we had better, the student-to-teacher ratio is a little better. We could pay our teachers a little better. Parents got involved more. We could pay parents better than minimum wage. We wouldn't have these problems that we have here now. And I think a small tweak to the bail system would help significantly.
So one of the things that that I'm very involved in and very passionate about is Hope for Prisoners.
Yes.
And I mentor a few people that have come out of the system. And one of the things that is very passionate and dear to me is when they come out of the system, number one is there's no education inside of the prison system. The lack of education has more than likely put them in the system. So when they come out, there's no credit. They can't rent houses here out of an HOA. They can't rent an apartment. I know that there was a bill passed last year to take the box off of the application, but they still do a background check. And so for somebody that's coming out with a felony, it's very difficult for them to find a job in Nevada, and that not only a job that could support their family, but a job that would get them into housing. And so if you had, in a perfect world, how would you suggest that we combat that so that we have a place for, as they come out of prison, we have a place to have them go and live so that they're not a cycle back into the system? Somebody that comes out and makes $10 an hour has no hope of moving forward. In your perfect world, how would you? That's
a great question. Banning the box is one step towards that, and I think was a good effort. The other thing we did in the last legislative session, and it was a bill sponsored by the Democratic Party Chairman William McCurdy, was to reduce the time it takes to seal one's record. So we reduced the time significantly so people, once they're out, can seal the record and be on an even playing field. They've paid their debt to society by going to prison. When they come out, they should be on an equal keel with everybody else. The other thing that I think is needed that we're not doing, but I've heard James Zarenda, the prison warden, talk about, is we need to get these prisoners, when they're within a year or 6 months left in their sentence, get them into a halfway house and get them the education they need. Get them online so that they can apply for jobs. Get them on in courses courses where they can learn how to manage their credit. Some people graduate high school and college, don't even know how to
Right.
balance a checkbook. We need to teach these life skills in prison before they get out, because once they get out, if they have hope, if they have an ability to earn a living, 99.9% of them will never go back to prison. The recidivism rate, what we see the problem with it is because they can't get a job, their
Right.
family has abandoned and moved on, and they don't have the education or the skills. We literally let them out of prison with a bus ticket and a check for $25 and say good luck. A person that's been warehoused for the last 7 years or 2 years even doesn't know how to function. They've
They
been
don't.
fed 3 meals a day. Their lights go on and off when the prison warden says they do. They have no control over anything. And now we give them $25 and a bus ticket and say good luck. What do we think is going to happen?
And there is, if you are convicted of a felony, you're not allowed to apply for any financial aid. So schooling is off the books as
Right.
well. And so it's a very difficult transition, especially, on my side, these are families that need housing. These are families that need to have some place to be secure and call home. Otherwise, we are going to go back into a cycle of the children will
Right.
follow in the footsteps. So that was one of the things that I wanted to personally get involved in, is how do we make a change, and where do we start with that? Because I believe that once the debt is served, the debt is served, and we need to be able to give these are privately held but publicly funded prisons, and it's a revolving door as far as like you said, the recidivism rate, especially in Nevada, it's incredibly high.
And we can stop that with just a little bit of education. Putting a few more dollars into education, warehousing the people that don't need to be warehoused. Rather than sending someone to prison for a couple of years, if they have a lot of it is drugs and mental
Yeah.
illness. And if we can get them into programs where they get drug counseling, drug court. 25 years ago, when I first started practicing law, when you got into drug court, your case was dismissed at the end. The reward for doing 3 years of an intensive program was a dismissal. You weren't a felon, you had nothing on your record, and you could get a job, and you could earn a livable wage
Yeah.
and buy a house. Today, the district attorney's office uses it as a condition of probation. So you're still stuck with the felony, you're doing all the program anyway, and you get no reward at the end. You're still a felon, can't get the job. We need to change that. We need to get these people back. And I say these people, the defendants, they're human beings. Get them back into society. Give them the education they need and the tools they need so that they don't end up where they were in the first place, through drugs and or mental illness. That's the other issue. We really need to do something for the mentally ill here. Get them into programs, get them back in touch with their families. I work downtown. I've worked downtown for 22 years. And what I see with a lot of the people that are homeless and mentally ill, we're given a bus ticket from places like Denver or San Francisco or San Diego and told, here's a ticket to Las Vegas, you're going to have a good time there. And they have no way of getting home. And so we need to get them back in touch with their families, get them back in a program, get them on their meds
Yeah.
where they can actually get a job and be productive members of society as well.
Thank you for that, Ozzy.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to Mortgage Minutes with Leslie McGarry and my guest, Ozzy Fumo. Ozzy, to piggyback off of our previous segment, is I wanted to talk to you about, we have a lot of Californians moving to Nevada, which I love. I don't play into the why are all these people moving here? I want as many people that can come here and produce and be part of this community as we could possibly get. I know last year that they passed a law that minimum wage in California went up to $15 an hour. So in Nevada, what are your plans when you go up to the assembly? What are your plans for our minimum wage?
I would love to see us reach a $15 an hour minimum wage. Right now, I think we're less than we're not half of that. We're about $8 an hour, $8.25. And I think if we did it incrementally here in Nevada, make it to 9 and then 10 and then 12, $12.50, things like that, we could move up eventually within 4 or 5 years to the $15 an hour wage. Because if we don't get there where people are earning a livable wage, they're not going to be able to buy houses. And if we don't have people buying houses, we don't have them paying property taxes. If they're not paying property taxes, we're not going to be able to fund things like UMC. We're not going to be able to fund our teachers. A lot of our teachers' pay, the salary comes from the legislature, but through property taxes here in Clark County. So we're not going to be able to fund our basic needs unless we can raise the income of the main workers that we have, which are these low-income workers.
Yeah. So a lot of our, obviously, the members of the Latin Chamber are small business owners.
Yes.
And so one of the concerns that I know personally that I would feel is raising minimum wage to $15 an hour and then having to provide health insurance on top of that. How would a small business, how would you say a small business could survive with doing that? What would your solution be?
Great. It's an adjustment. You know, that's why I said I think we do it incrementally. You can't do it from 8 to 15 in one shot. It's going to close small businesses down. They're not going to be able to absorb that right away. You know, when I started practicing, it was just me and a secretary, and I made a choice early on to pay her a livable wage and pay her health insurance for her family. And I've had my people with me for the least, the person who's with me the least has been with me for 10 years.
Wow.
I've had people with me for 18 and 20
It says a
years.
lot
And
about.
because I pay them at minimum wage, better than minimum wage. Our receptionist makes $50,000 a year, and we pay her health insurance for her and her children, but I don't have to worry about her quitting every 2 weeks and
Right.
finding another job. I don't have to worry about her stealing from me because she's been with me so long. She's part of the family.
Right.
And so I don't have to retrain anybody, and that takes time away from me. I'm only making money if I'm in the office interviewing clients or I'm in court. And so if I have to train a receptionist or a secretary every 6
Yeah.
months, I'm actually losing money. So it was a personal choice I made, and it was an adjustment for a while. I made about the same as she did for a while, but then, you know, as times got better and things got good,
Right.
you know, I could make more. Now I have a staff of 5 attorneys in the office and 5 employees working underneath each attorney and 2 receptionists downstairs, but they make that good money. I understand the small business, it's scary to do
It's scary.
it. And that's why I suggest doing it incrementally rather than one big shot in the arm. I think if it went up little by little in the next few years, the employers would be able to handle it, and they'd have employees that don't want to quit every 2 weeks for the next best job.
Well, and that's one of the other things that I talk to relocation companies about as well, is that if the sooner that you can get your employee into a house, the more likely that they're going to stay with you. The less money it's going to cost you training in the long run.
Right.
For an average company like MGM to bring in, let's just say a mid-level executive, it costs them about $36,000 to train that mid-level executive by the time they put them through. If you lose somebody once every 6 months because they haven't put down their roots in Las Vegas, started giving back to their community and really being involved, you know, in the long haul, it costs you more money
That's
as a
right.
small business owner, and I know that's a major concern, especially with our Latin Chamber members, is holding on to employees, but in keeping a good balance, because not everybody can afford to do both. Do you think that if they decide to repeal our Affordable Health Care Act, that is going to have a drastic impact on our small business owners, or do you think it's going to be better?
What's going to happen if that happens is that all those people that had insurance that don't have it anymore are going to go to places like UMC and get public health care, and we will pay for that eventually ourselves.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is UMC is going to go to the county commission and say, look, we need more money, we need more doctors, we need more nurses, we need more skilled staff to take care of these people, because it's going to be a huge influx of people coming in. So one way or the other, we as taxpayers are going to pay for that. And you're right, if we can pay our employees a little better of a wage, they will establish roots. And the main way you establish roots in a community is by buying a house. And if they can't afford to own a home, they're not going to stay. They're going to leave back for California. They're going to go to Arizona. They might head up north. They're going to do whatever where the next best job is. And so if we can pay them a little bit better and get them into housing, once you have a 30-year mortgage, a 15-year mortgage,
Right.
whatever it is, you're not going to look for the next best thing in another state. You're going to stay right where you are, establish yourself, and maybe move up in a different house, but you're going to stay here in the community where you are.
Well, and they
anyway.
say statistically that children that are raised in a home, a home that's owned by their parents, they statistically do better in
Absolutely.
school. And one of the things that I know is important to you is not only the children doing better in school, but not teaching to the test and,
Right.
and those types of things. And I think that if we could pay our teachers better, we pay our minimum wage workers better, I think that they'll find that in our community that we're going to thrive
Right.
for a very small amount of money, opposed to like what you're talking about, the kids that aren't thriving in school, that because their teachers are overcrowded, they're not being paid enough, they can't, those kids are the ones that we end up seeing at 18, 19 years old. They're in our prison system.
Exactly.
So one way or the other, as a taxpayer, I truly believe that we are going to pay for this, whether it's through minimum wage, we're going to pay for this.
Right.
So in the assembly, what is on the table? Are they thinking that we're going to maybe bring a lottery? What are they thinking that we're going to do to start producing more money to help supplement all of these things?
One of the things that happened last legislative session is the marijuana tax. You know, the money that went into the general fund, and once that gets dispersed properly, it's supposed to be earmarked for education. That's going to be a tremendous boon for the citizens of Nevada. There was a recent Supreme Court case, United States Supreme Court case, that came out that said Nevada, or any state, can tax businesses that don't have brick and mortar buildings in the state. So places like Amazon, we're losing out on taxes for sales that are going on internet companies. And once it comes to that, we can tax those businesses as well. A small percentage, and it's the person who buys the product that's going to pay for it in Nevada or whatever state they're in. We will be able to make huge millions of dollars influx into the economy. So we might not have to raise business taxes, personal income taxes, or casino. Our main source of income is the casinos.
Right.
They pay about 6.75%. It hasn't been adjusted since the 90s, and rightfully so, because they pay a majority of it. But one way or the other, we're going to have to either bring in money from another source, raise a personal income tax, which we've never had in Nevada, and that would be a tragedy to have that, because that's one of our claims to fame. That's why people come from other states to move here.
Absolutely.
Or raise the casino taxes. But I think this Supreme Court case that says we can tax those businesses, the marijuana money will be enough to where we don't have to raise it or increase revenue from other resources.
So what is the plan? When are they planning on releasing that money that's already been raised with the marijuana?
I think it's going to be one of the first things we do at the next legislative session. It'll be probably within the first 20 days. We'll put that in where it should be.
Now, Ozzie, as we get ready to wrap up this session, is there anything else that you'd like to put out there about you personally and the support that you're looking for and what that can actually mean for our community?
Well, thank you for asking that. You know, we're walking every Saturday. I always say we're walking, knocking, and talking. I go out there every Saturday myself, and every day I'm able to after work. I teach on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so Tuesdays and Fridays and Saturdays I'm out there trying to knock on doors, talk to as many voters as we can. If you'd like to join us, we meet at Desert Bloom Park. It's 8405 South Maryland Parkway, right on the corner of Maryland Parkway and Wigwam. We meet there, we have donuts and coffee, we chit-chat about things going on in the community, and then we knock on doors for about 2 hours and talk to good voters.
You get to meet a lot of great people.
We sure do. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ozzie. Thanks for being on my show. Thanks for all of your insight. I'd like to invite you back if you'd like to after the election is over.
Sure.
Thank you very much for joining us today at Mortgage Market Minutes with Leslie McGarry. We'll be back next month.